Oh, Grimmy, you're something else. Oh, hello and welcome to the show. I am Joe Tophat. For those of you who don't know, back in the day, if you wanted to read your favorite comic strip, you had to read them in papers like this. Of course, nowadays, most of us read the funnies online. There are some comics made specifically for the internet. But what if you wanted to physically own a copy of the comic strip? One thing you could do if you wanted to physically own a collection of your favorite comic strip is to just cut them out of the newspaper and paste them in like an album or something. But for most people, they would rather own them in the books. Nowadays you have a wide variety of choices when it comes to collecting your favorite comic strip. There are books like this, as published by Fantagraphics. Back in the day, that wasn't always the case. Sure, there were book collections of your favorite comics, but they weren't in the format that we know them today.
This may look like a novel, but believe it or not, this is the book format that the comics were collected in. As a side-by-side comparison for a novel, this Wayside School Fallen Down book looks very similar to the format that this Peanuts book is, except this is a little bigger. As you can see, it has like text you read from left to right, as well as pictures. Get that out of the way. But for comics, you traditionally read them from left to right, like you see here in the paper. Since these books don't have the luxury of using that format because, well, let's face it, they'd be ridiculously small if you did it that way, they were published a lot of times like this, from top to bottom. And a lot of times they would leave out like panels for certain comics. Or in this case, they would show them joining together. It's very weird reading them this way because this is not how the paper published them. But unfortunately, this is the only way you could collect them in books. Now, Peanuts is a humor strip that occasionally does storylines, so it's not a big deal, but for comic strips that are known for long storylines, like, say, Dick Tracy, a lot of times they were published in comic book format. I guess it's more in its style, but the thing of it is that Dick Tracy is not meant to be in comic book format. So the strip has to be arranged in order to fit this format. And a lot of times they would leave stuff out because, well, comics can only collect so much. So if you wanted comics collected in books in the format they are in the newspaper, you were out of luck.
It wasn't until 1980 when Garfield creator Jim Davis decided to collect the first year of his strip in the books. He despised the traditional format that comics were collected in books. He felt they should be read from left to right as you read them in newspapers. So he created his own book format, which was known as the Garfield Format. The first book to come out was much smaller than most of the books that came out beforehand, but it proved so popular that it remained on the New York Times bestseller list for close to 2 years. Originally, you would only be able to read one strip per page, but future editions would allow you to read up to 3 per page. This format proved so popular that even to this day, publishing companies would collect popular comic strips in this Garfield format. So whenever you read books like this, you can thank Jim Davis for publishing them the way they should be. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the subject of the Garfield format. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. run, you should love Snoopy.